Welcome everyone. So today the technology is no longer the bottleneck. Choice is. In an era saturated with solutions that promise the world, sales engineer has become the ultimate filter. We are your hosts, Anshuman and Sriraman, and this is the next episode of Architects of Technical Win, show where we deconstruct the evolving world of pre-sale, place where we examine the critical intersection of business strategy and technical excellence. If you are ready to level up your SE role, you are at the right. Today, we're joined by our dear friend and an old colleague, Rajesh Goel. Rajesh is country manager pre-sales HP India. He spent over 28 years at HP, leading multiple teams, handling various functions. And I must add, like for Shri and me, Rajesh has been the storage guru for many in the industry. Welcome, Rajesh.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you whenever you're going to hear this podcast. So, about me, Rajesh Goel, I've spent more than 3 decades in this IT industry, precisely 32 years, and out of which most part is spent in one organization. My journey spans through support, account management, and pre sales. And more than 20 years of my career, I've spent in pre sales and SC profile. My interest, if you really ask me, is always in driving digital transformation initiatives, hybrid cloud solutions, artificial intelligence, and strategic technology programs, across diverse enterprises. While all of you knew me more from the storage perspective, but one important aspect which you might not be aware of, I have collaborated extensively with various several Indian state governments as well onto their advisory boards, primarily for their enterprise architecture designs to key strategic initiatives as well.
Rajesh, 28 years in one organization. What kept you charged up?
In my opinion, if organization provides you all-inclusive culture, number 2, career growth, number 3, opportunity for continuous learning, number 4, work-life balances, and number 5, market value, then it's not only me. I think, I will advise every pre-sales consultant or SC consultant, they shall possibly stick to a given organization itself.
Rajesh, this is one question we ask everyone. So we don't typically start off thinking that we'll become pre-sales one day, right? So we all have a delivery and beyond journey. And different people have different stories. So what was the trigger that made you choose SE as a career choice?
So, Anshuman, frankly, it was never my first choice. I started my journey as a support engineer, then as a product support leader, and even to an account management role as well. All those things got changed, when I went through a major accident in year 2003. And during those days at bed, within the hospital, or it can say within at home as well, where I spent around 6 months of a time, my whole thought process, towards life got changed. During those 6 months, I studied a lot. I got so attracted towards technology during that particular time. I mean, difficult to explain, but I realized my core strength in technical solutioning instead of hardcore sales management role. Though whenever I remember this particular incident, tears do come from my eyes. But that was the incident, which changed me towards, SEO or pre-sales profile.
Wow, after working so many years with you, we didn't know this. So, and then you went back, asked for a change, or how did it happen?
No, it was that, my senior management at that particular time, so they told me, Rajesh, we are not so sure that, whether you're really going to be mobilized because the situation was too bad after that accident. So during that particular time, they in fact advised me, why not you go and study because you are in the hospital and you are at or probably at your bed within your home itself. And that's where my whole thought process was changed. And then I himself went to my management, when I recovered from that particular incident, that why shall I not move towards into a pre-sales kind of a role. And organization had given me ample opportunity basically to work, with respect to that, entire this solutioning or, business solving task to me. Yeah.
So, Rajesh, outside of work, what are you passionate about?
Everyone knows, I love traveling. Given a chance, I would like to explore this whole world, not into an adventurous way, but more in a calm way. And that's what I want to do. And I wish, I will be able to, complete, or probably I will continue with my this hobby in the next few years of time.
Rajesh, let's come to the work side of the discussion. Coming from the time of proprietary solutions, so I remember even HP, for example, dominated the financial switches with non-stop, right? To moving into industry standard solution and then cloud. Uh, Today, infrastructure, you can say that it's sort of commoditized. So, how have the SEs evolved? The role of SE evolved over a period of time from being very, very tech driven, very proprietary, and now where you compete on a very different value game. So, how has that changed?
Yeah, that's a good question, Anshuman. I moved actually into this pre-sales roles somewhere in year 2004 after that an accident. So from 2006 to 2016, that was a time, when SC or in pre-sales role, was more of a static role because it was built upon relationship and technology. 2016 onwards, this SC or a pre-sales roles, started moving dynamically into multiple facets and became challenging, day by day. On one side, SC or pre-sales have to catch up almost, all ongoing technology transformational aspects, updating almost the monthly basis, and nowadays it is on a daily basis itself. And on the other hand, this SC or a pre-sales person need to map this changing paradigm also to the customer business challenges as well. If you really ask me in simple words, a true SC in today's world has to be multiple facets or multiple dimensional instead of focusing upon just in point solutions or in given offering itself.
So, it's all about no more speeds and feed, is what you're saying, right? So, you need to understand business, you need to understand other facets.
So when I say, I'm not advocating as a journalist kind of a role, but there are multiple ways you can say so. But the way this whole technology is actually changing as on today, you need to understand the whole paradigm of a given customer itself. So that's where always say that you have to become truly, truly multidimensional.
Rajesh, the SE and sales, they share a very interesting relationship. And they both have got their own separate drivers, but they have got similar goals, right? So tell us about an experience where how it has been working with the different sales team. Any interesting incident that you have had with the sales team?
Sure, Shriman, first of all, both sales and pre-sales, or you can call it SNSC, both of them work, hand to hand. But at the same time, both are independent and dependent entities. During my last, 32 years of a career, I worked with, different sales leaders, account managers, or even the partner managers, etc. And if you really ask me, most of them had different traits and different style of working. In my opinion, the first key part is a synchronization and a relationship with our sales team. So as an SC, first of all, you need to come up with innovative ideas. You need to run those ideas with your sales team, and jointly you need to decide, how to take it forward. Sometimes you need to be a bad boy or a bad girl as well, but at the same time, sometimes you need to play a role of salesperson as well, but eventually at the end it's all about how you're going to synchronize with your sales team as well as with your customers. I mean, there are numerous examples I can speak about, but all those examples will bring one common criteria that the way you guys needs to interact with each other. Basically, the sales team and the SC guys, one person has to become a good boy and one person has to become a bad boy at times in the front of a customers, to bring the true value propositions, with your customers.
So let's talk a little bit more critical about the pre-sales SE role in an opportunity. What are the some key values that the SE brings in this entire sales process that you were talking about as a team together?
So, Srinaman, key value of pre-sales is always, and I always advocate and say that, it's to translate business challenges into a workable IT solution, which sales team can confidently close with customer, because that's the prime objective we always and always drive. And this SE is always a double layer bridge, if you really ask me, because between customer and technical solution, it becomes one bridge. And it also a flexible bridge between customer and sales as well. So we are works like a double layer bridge between customer and technical solutions and between customer and sales. Another key aspect, of SC or a pre-sales is not only collaborating with the sales team, but we also need to collaborate with that product team as well, because it's our feedback and inputs that we are providing in ground level, where organizations can draw and design their strategies accordingly.
And if I can add, the third bridge is also with delivery, Rajesh.
Correct, and they are actually your backbone as well. Yeah.
In reality, in infrastructure opportunities, whatever I have seen and you also must be observing, typical approach of customer is to normalize the specifications, right? Just go on page and page, normalize the specification and bring it down to commercials, right? वो pre-sales से BOQ बनवाया, सब किया, and then you want to immediately they want to sit in front of the sales guy for the negotiation. So, uh, how have you seen SEs handle this situation, and any mantra from your side or any advice from your side?
Yes, Ashwan. In fact, all of us have gone through that particular process. And, if you really ask me, that's what we have precisely seen, from 2006 to 2016. But practically after 2016, I saw a challenge in the overall thought process of Indian customers as well. Indian customers nowadays are focusing more towards their business pain points and how it can be addressed. And as on today, accordingly, those specifications are being written and designed. I normally use a scale called as 70/30, which you rightly pointed that around 70% of the times specifications were designed more from the speed and feed perspectives, and 30% of that time, or basically that the percentage of the points used to be written more from the business pain point perspective. But in the last few years of a time, it got changed from 30 to 70, which means 30 points are coming from speed and feed, and 70 is coming from their true business challenges, what customers are seeing into their environment. But yes, ground reality is a little bit crude as well. That 70/30 rule is still being followed by some of those customers as well. So, in my opinion, to entire SC community or entire pre-sales community, which I just mentioned into the previous questions as well, that be multidimensional, so that you should be able to provide and understand that customer's pain point, their business challenges in a far better way, as comparing to just or as positioning yourself as like an point solution SC. Because when you're going to take that particular approach, this would help you to establish yourself as a trusted advisor, and that's where you will be able to play down with your customers more effectively to design those specifications as well. So I'm actually advocating a rule of 70/30, not from an speed and feed perspective, where 70 I'm giving a points to an business challenges, and 30 points I'm giving to that speed and feeds. The time you're going to bring this combination together, you probably slowly will start coming out from those hardcore speed and feed specifications. Will be difficult, but that's where we need to
Yeah,
move
but I
towards. Yeah.
think that's the approach you are saying an SE should be taking. So that
Yeah, and that's what I'm also seeing in the last, 6 and 7 years as well. Primarily started from 2016 onwards, and after COVID, it became more prominent as well. Customers are now focusing more with respect to their business challenges as compared to speed and feeds.
yeah. So this will also mean lesser Excel sheets to fill, right? In a typical RF.
Excel sheets will be there, but now it is going to be more KRA kind of, basically that inputs you need to provide. Yeah.
So, Rajesh, you've been synonymous with the storage industry, and you are all further on. What would be your advice to an SE who wants to move into a specialist role and yet not boxed into a particular category? How can they help in their career mobility perspective?
So, Shinjaman, first of all, thanks for your compliment. Just taking me as synonymous with the data storage industries. So no doubt, everyone need to be synonymous with one of the technology pillar. However, at the same time, you have to be multidimensional or multifaceted, which I'm actually referring again and again, because otherwise your learning horizon and career growth is going to be really limited in today's world. I'm not referring an era of 10 years old. Otherwise, I'm referring as on today. So if you're not multidimensional or if you're not multifaceted, your career growth is really, really going to be limited. Remember, I'm not advocating here for a journalist role, but be a subject matter expert, and at the same time be aware and knowledgeable about technology landscape around you is actually going to be more lethal into that industry, and this can easily help for the career mobility as well. So my message to this entire SE community would be, make a habit of learning new skills.
Well, makes absolute sense. So you're saying, uh, while focus on one, be a specialist on one, but at the same time know what is happening. So a good conversation you can always have with the customer, plus can move. Yeah, that's a good one, Rajesh. So uh, on the skill side, okay, since we are on this topic, so we've seen SE is a highly technical community, right? That's what they love, and that's what they want to grow in. But we all know, and over the time, as you are talking about the different waves where it's all about value. So clearly, the soft skills are becoming equally important. So, as a leader, as the person who's taking this tribe along, uh, how do you strike a balance between technical and soft skill training for your team?
So Anshuman, over a period of a time in a SC role, yes, soft skills are equally important, along with that, technical skills of an given SC itself. You know, Practically in our industry, soft skill for an SC sometimes being also referred as an art of technical selling as well. Although, pre-sales or SC teams, learns, soft skills over a period of a time, though it's not, if in case it is not natural, but conviction of winning is always must to learn these skills, and that's why they are really, really critical. While industry have a norm of, in the world of SC have a norm of 70-30, which means 70 is the technical skills and 30 is the soft skills. But I normally advocate a scale of 50-50 in today's context, which means the 50 is the technical skills and 50 is the soft skills. And plus that, a feedback loop, which is really critical to striking the balance. So those days are really gone, when you need to focus, hardcore to the technical side. In today's world, your skill has to be really 50-50 scale, where that you shall be able to strike a balance, and at the same time activation of feedback loop through your peers or through your colleagues is equally important.
And if I can ask, what is more difficult to impart? Is it the tech skills or the soft?
Soft skills is always and always, difficult to impart, because, see, naturally few SCs are always, get those skills by, by their DNAs or by as a natural way. But most of that SCs learn it over a period of a time. And some of that SCs, have to go through the various programs, to learn those skills. And one of the critical aspect, into all those aspects, I always put emotional challenge or emotional intelligence in the front. Because if you are able to connect emotionally with your customers, and that is also a skill of, soft skill itself, then you will be able to do wonders into this SC industry.
And we hear this on every conversation, Rajesh. And what I love about this is that this is the human element of the pre-sales role, and this is
Correct.
something AI just cannot take it away, right? So as long as humans are
Naturally,
buying
yes, yeah.
and humans are selling, AI
Yeah.
can't take away this. So just one more question, follow up on that one. So
Yeah.
you spoke about soft skills. Uh, any specific, or rather, what are the specific skills or whatever specific trainings that help the SE deliver higher performance? So you've seen it over a period of time, different trainings, different functions. Certain things are inbuilt, inherent. You spoke about emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, but again, would you like to boil it down to maybe two or three critical training which you think help them deliver more?
So the first thing I just mentioned, emotional intelligence, that is always the top priority because that's where you are actually going to connect with your customers quite well. And the second is always, and that's where most of our SC is being trained over a period of a time. That is called as a storytelling approach. And linking this storytelling approach with emotional intelligence. That is really, really important. A training program from a soft skill perspective. The third important aspect onto the soft skill I always brings is called as active listening with the occasional smiles. You can't be a flat face, it has to be active listening with occasional smiles. And the last but not the least is always an client focused communications, which naturally are going to learn over a period of a time or with good number of years of experience or probably with the help of some kind of training programs.
So, Rajesh, you've been a people manager for a very long time. And there might be many situations where at times SEs do get demotivated. Uh, I mean, it can be because they missed on the President's Club or something of that sort. What's your mantra to keep them motivated?
Difficult question, Shriram. First of all, I do agree, and this do happen. So I might be wrong, but this is the feedback, from some of my team members. And in fact, some of the team members who worked with me in the past as well, that the feedback what I got and that feedback, what I normally hear from those guys, that, how you would like to invest into your team members. And let me just share some of my key learnings, from those particular aspect. The first of all, you know, as an SC manager, we need to focus upon their long-term growth. When I say their long-term growth, I'm referring this entire SC community here. And this is normally accomplished by providing them continuous enablement trainings, which could be your internal product, could be internal solutions, or could be a third party as well. The more you do, more employees are going to realize that, they are the integral part of a given organization itself. Point number two, with your entire SC community, always maintain a work-life balance as well. Do give them a task onto a newer technology horizon and how they can help their team members to learn about it. Because, the time you are going to carry out, your team members are going to feel empowered within a given organizations. The third most critical aspect, compensation do matters. And as a pre-sales manager, we shall ensure that we bring more and more incentive programs or probably the spiff kind of programs for the team members, because that also a critical factor for the motivation of your SC employees. And the last but not the least, though there could be many more points, make your team members as an industry speakers wherever possible. Because if you do them, they will feel that they are getting more value from within their organization itself. And recognition always makes a difference. That's why I always says, make your team members as an industry speakers wherever possible. So these are some of the points, which I would want to highlight, where you can actually keep the motivation high of your team members.
That's a good set of points. So on a side note, Rajesh, I still have Yamaha speakers which were given by ISS team to me. So yeah, I can clearly relate to those piffs which HP used to run there. Okay. So Raj, we spoke about career. We spoke about some training. लिटिल बिट आपको हम बिना टेक्नोलॉजी के सवाल के तो जाने नहीं देंगे। तो जस्ट
Okay, fair enough.
few questions on the tech side. So your forte, while now you run the entire portfolio of what HP has to offer, but we will talk a little on the storage side. That has been your forte. So industry has seen a huge shift, right? There was a time when even in spinning we were talking about 10K and 15K, and then they were like there was cost management that we had to do. From there, it moved to SSD and then completely NVMe, right? Nobody talks about spinning this. So uh, the way as an outsider we understand is that hardware is no longer a differentiator because everybody is using similar drives, talking similar numbers. So what do you see are the differentiating factors across competing organization on the storage? And in fact, today is there like enterprise, mid-range, all those things, do they even matter? So what's happening in the world?
See, Anshuman, so, though this question is more from the technology, and, while I do agree that, data storage is really close to my heart, however, in today's, world, differentiations in data industry is also coming from various other pillars. For example, in data industry itself, a customer is going to ask you, are you truly hybrid? How my workload placement can be done across private and public clouds, where my data is actually going to reside into in seamless fashions. How can I do a true cloud orchestrations of operations across private and public cloud, where my data is actually going to reside? How much really rich are you actually to that, API front? Or take an example, which is the key, I'll say that, being used in this IT industries, are you really cyber resilient as well? So all those kind of a questions, what you normally going to hear nowadays from the customers, instead of asking, long back, how many front end ports you have, how many drives you support. So those kind of a questions have been replaced by the truly business oriented questions. And the point which I really want to enforce that, to the entire SC community here, the discussions have now moved away from nut bolt or speed and feed to the business outcomes, as well as into the workload placement. And some of these questions which I have just put in, these questions have become the true pillars, for any kind of business oriented discussion nowadays.
Very well said, in fact, Rajesh. Just to add to that point, right? Now the proprietary architecture that we were talking about is moving more towards software-defined compute, networking, storage, everything. So when it goes into that, what is the future for these kind of proprietary appliances, or it's all going to get faded away sometime in the long term?
So, Shriman, the questions, which was asked by Anshuman in just as a previous questions,
Yeah.
that was more from the data storage industry. And, I just mentioned that, the way the shift from that, the speed and feed got changed to all those, business imperative questions. In the same way, when you're asking about all those, software defined infrastructure or commodity hardware, the concept is really changing there as well. Practically, if you ask me, this purpose built appliances kind of in a market, this is going to decline, and they might be replaced with some kind of a turnkey platform itself. So the need of, really ask me, in today's world, the need of our is independent scale of each component, whether it's infra or is it software or might be an AI. Or if you ask me, in other words, this whole world from an IT industry perspective, be it data or be it AI or be it is a software, it is all about disaggregated environment now. In fact, in this digital era, data is being generated and processed at every layer of organizations. And you can't live in this world of appliance, for a longer period of a time. That's what my take is. While few pockets will always continue to dominate the purpose of purpose-built appliances or solutions, but eventually this whole IT industry is moving towards disaggregated way.
Okay, and you can't have any chat or conversation without talking AI, right? So let's come to that topic. So AI and SE, what's your take on this one? So is it like they will replace the pre-sales function AI, or it will be a nice supporter or nice productivity enhancer uh, for SE community?
So this is a long question, Anshuman, and this is one of my favorite topic as well to discuss. So first of all, my important message to this entire SE community would be that you himself have to become an AI community, because the more and more that innovative ideas you are going to bring in this AI world, the more and more success you are going to see. That's the first point. The second important aspect to this entire SE community would be that do understand in deep that how AI can be leveraged effectively, or positioning an AI driven solutions for a given use case for your customer itself. For example, let me just take an example that how deeply you can position and sell. Take an example of a RAG kind of an use case. where you shall be able to interlink that entire platform, which means your compute, server, storage, network, and at the same time you shall be able to explain that in entire software engine as well. Because the time you will be able to club both of them together, that's where the power of true that SC empowered by AI will come into that picture. Now, let's think about our internal function, from an SC perspective as well. That, nowadays, we need to provide responses basically to RFP, RFI, or basically that, in a corporate world, responses to their requirements. And I'm seeing that SC community is effectively adopting the various AI tools as on today to provide the responses using those kind of an AI tools within their organization itself. If you ask me about my team, I normally say that, we are now dependent on to AI, both as a provider and at the same time as a consumer as well. So, if somebody asks me that, is it going to take your job? Because that's where, one of the questions you asked, that is it going to take the job of SC? Answer is no, it is never going to be. But the only thing is now our SC community have to learn more and more AI skills to become more and more AI centric. And that's a need of ours itself.
Very well said, Rajesh. In fact, that's something that we are also seeing. In fact, on a daily basis, something new is coming up, and the catch up is really going to be very steep very soon. So, yes, and good to hear that the SEs are definitely going to be there for some more years or long time before we see something major drastic change that happens, some disruption that happens. So as we come to the end of the show, I would just like to ask you if you have to uh, put one message or one quote on every SE's desk in the world, what would that be?
The single line would be turning complexity into clarity. That's a simple statement I always put because that's what our job is. Our job is to make life simpler for our customers as well as for our sales community so that they can take our workable IT solutions directly to the customers and can go and close those particular deals. So I always say is turning complexity into clarity.
I will put that on my desk as well. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
So I think a lot of learning from you, Rajesh. Uh, and what I really appreciated is the clarity of thought. So in the sense, uh, be it the the learning part of it, be it how the industry is going, how they are supposed to drive value, the 70-30 rule to 30-70 thing. I think a lot to learn from you today. The objective, as I said, of this particular broadcast is to uh, bring the pre-sales community a little more into limelight, get them also to learn from various leaders. And as we started in the beginning, that the human element of sales is coming from the pre-sales because it's people selling to people. So thank you very much for that.
Thank to both of you. Thanks, Anshuman. Thanks, Shriman. And my last message that, SC is the workforce or the powerhouse of basically any given organizations, So believe into you and because you are going to make your organization more and more successful. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. And to all our viewers, I hope you really enjoyed the show. And we are very happy to hear your thoughts and your content on the content and the perspectives that you have so that we can come up with more meaningful conversations for you. We are signing off now. And soon we will be coming up with another episode to keep you more engaged with us. Thank you so much. See you.
Thank you.